should everyone have access to the internet for free is what we are asking. Give us a call, 0207 862 2222, and we'll speak to you in just a moment. Millions of Brits are overpaying for their broadband bills as companies tend to boost prices when contracts come to an end. But with the internet being an integral part of most people's day-to-day lives, should actually accessing it be entirely free? Harry, we'll come to you for some tips in a moment for reducing your bills. But Henry, how do you feel about just free access for everybody?
Well, look, if we don't provide food for free, if we don't provide water for free, or homes and sanitation for free, then why would we give people the internet for free? I mean, I know it's essential now, but until 30 years ago, we lived without it.
But maybe it's a way of levelling the playing field across the board, Carol.
Absolutely not. Every resource in the government should pay for this, government should pay for that, and then the people who say that then slag off that government for not doing that. And I get really tired of people talking about their rights, that the government should pay this because it's their right. And usually it's the people who contribute the least to society who demand that. If you want internet, pay for it. As Henry says, it wasn't invented until 1983. And we all had, and you were alive during this time, Henry, so don't just use it as me on an age thing.
I'm maturing like fine wine. Keep going.
Before that, we lived a perfectly normal, acceptable, busy life, and it worked. So, there are people...
but times move. We roll with the punches, we move with the technology.
Yes, we can move with it, but still pay for it.
Well, we're speaking about making exams easier for people, for children that were caught in the lockdown. Part of the reason those children are still struggling was because of internet access, particularly for the poorest children, and internet access in the schools. If we just gave everybody the same, we're levelling that playing field. It's,
I suppose it depends on how all these things are delivered, because it's about an infrastructure, and, the government won't do all the laying of the cables. That'll be private companies, perhaps with a contract with the local government or national government. Now, it could very well be that some of these services can be subsidised, like our rail travel is subsidised or our bus travel is subsidised. So a private company has a deal with the government and then brings the prices lower according to whatever subsidy they get from the government. Perhaps internet access could be made cheaper in certain areas because of that.
And for certain people.
Maybe. But in terms of completely free, if we don't give people food for free, why would we give internet for free?
There's a new study out of Birmingham that says internet access is a human right. I mean, that's just tosh.
Is it?
That's nanny state.
In today's state, is that
Yes,
tosh?
It's nanny state tosh. Why should everything that you use in your life be paid for by the government? You have to take personal responsibility for your life at some point. We do have government help. Some people have help in paying bills. They have help in paying their if they're off sick, they get taken care of. Not everything in your life can be taken care of by a government. You've got to, at some point, take personal responsibility.
What you're talking about there, I think, are kind of social tariffs that are out there, and we'll touch on them with Harry a little bit later. I just want to read some messages that you've sent in on this. Michael on Facebook says, I say that the more something becomes a need, like the internet, then yes, it ought to be as easily accessible as possible. And I suppose it is becoming more and more so. Carol on Facebook says, it won't be free as taxpayers will pick up the bill. If it was nationalised, the government would run it. Does anyone trust them to do that? Well, that gets into a whole other debate there, Carol, but thank you for bringing that up. OK, we'll move on to hints and tips about how we can get some cheaper broadband. Harry, we're going to go to you then. And we mentioned that millions of households might actually be paying too much for their internet at the moment. Why is that?
It's simply because people signed up for a broadband deal years ago thinking, this seems pretty good. I'll lock on with this. And then their contract ran out, but they thought, I use the internet so much, I don't want to risk switching from BT to Sky or Sky to Virgin Media. I don't want the hassle. And so they leave it. And maybe they don't look at their bills for a while. And before you know it, they go and check their bills and find that they're paying £50 a month for broadband, which is just as good as anyone else's, if not a bit slower. And actually, if they got a new contract with a new provider, they switched, they could be saving hundreds of pounds a year. So if someone's paying £40 a month right now for broadband, I'd say there's some deals out there that are half that price. They're £20 a month. You're saving £240 a year just like that, and you could get faster speeds and maybe even more reliable speeds.
I didn't think I was going to be brought into this debate quite so much, but I think you're talking about me here, Harry. This is a disaster. So how do you...
Oh dear, what's happened, Stormy? Have you ended up in a bad situation? situation. You're locked on with a provider and it's costing you a fortune.
Yeah, clearly have. How do you know you're getting the best deal? Where can we get the best deals? Can you negotiate with your current provider?
You can. So if you are still within your contract, well, then there's not much you can do. And contracts, they last between 12, 24, sometimes 36 months. So when you're in a contract, there's not a lot you can do. But if you're out of a contract, you need to shop around, make sure that your deal isn't over the odds. And maybe if you think, do you know what, I like my provider, they've offered a great service, you can bring a quote from outside to your provider and say, I need you to beat this price, or at the very least match it, or I'm afraid I'm off. And actually, if you switch provider, that is usually going to take a couple of hours rather than a couple of days, because the technology now has gotten so sophisticated that you can switch without having that downtime. And if there is downtime, then you get compensation automatically from most broadband providers.
Okay, Harry, stay with us. I'm going to go to a call. Paul from Surrey, have you got some advice for us, or have you got a question?
Some advice, really. Basically, the situation that I have is I am a universal credit top-up person who I work full-time. I'm a single parent, but basically I get a bit of universal credit top-up, and because of that, I then receive extra help from providers.
Ah, okay, so you're the very person we were speaking about a little bit earlier. Now, how do you get hold of these tariffs then, Harry?
Well,
oh, sorry,
yes,
Paul. Harry, you answer it.
These so-called tariffs. Paul absolutely doing the right thing here, that if you are on certain benefits, that might be universal credit, there might be pension credits that you're on, you can get a cheaper broadband, and a load of the providers offer this as a service. They start at about £12.50 a month. Some of the speeds can be a bit slower. You know, it's not going to be your fastest of fast fibers from most providers. But if you're looking at, really trying to cut down your bills, this is something you should look into. It's not going to be on the price comparison sites a lot of the time. It's often not in the fancy adverts if you see them on TV for E or BT. It's actually going to be something that you have to search for. We've got a list of them on which.co.uk. You can also find them on the Ofcom website, and you just have to prove your eligibility. And they are a fantastic way of saving money, and hundreds of pounds for most people.
Paul, this is the first I'm hearing of this. How did you find out about it, and are you finding that your internet is as good as your neighbours?
Yes, and my internet is just as good. I still get very good basic internet coverage. My bill used to be £70 a month. I now pay £20 a month.
Oh,
so it's a massive saving.
Amazing saving. And the internet is just as good. Now, how did you find out about it? Did your provider tell you?
I'm actually with BT, and they did actually put it through on one of their information leaflets.
Brilliant. Thank you for your call, Paul. Who is the best providers? Just because Paul's named somebody, who would you say to look at if we were looking at the best deals out there?
Yeah, so when it comes to the kind of customer service, you'd actually be surprised to hear that if it's a company that you've heard of, they're probably not the best. So the big four, Virgin, BT, Sky and TalkTalk, actually had pretty lousy customer service in our surveys. The best on customer service was Zen Internet, Community Fibre and Hyperoptic. Those last two, they're often only available in the big cities or in London. But it's some of these smaller providers that actually offer really good reliability and excellent customer service.
Harry, repeat those again. Zen Internet. What?
Zen Internet, Community and Hyperoptic. And guess what? The list is for free on which.co.uk.
Yeah, but you've got to subscribe. That's to get that.
All the years that I've been doing
these. That is open for everybody.
Is it? Oh, good.
Carol, you've got to pay for things. Carol doesn't want people to have things for free, but now she wants Which for free.
No, if there's a deal, I want it because I know I'm paying over the odds. I just know I am.
Do you know what's amazing? In all the years that I've done parts like this, never once have I had two guests writing down notes. It's going to be everybody's homework tonight, which is just terrific. Harry, what help is out there for
Carol, see me after class.
Yeah.
Oh, I will. I'll come get you.
What help is out there for families that can't afford their bills? Maybe they're on a contract and they just can't afford to pay it 1 month, or maybe they're struggling just generally.
Well, absolutely. If you think you're eligible for one of these tariffs, reach out to your provider and ask to make that switch. But otherwise, if you think, this month is a little bit tricky for me, I've had some unexpected costs, reach out to your provider and they should be putting you on a payment plan. Maybe they can get you onto a better deal, save you some money. But ultimately, there are far too many people out there who are unable to afford broadband. It's an essential utility for so many people. And yet a lot of people are paying VAT on that broadband, 20% which is the same as what you'd spend on marshmallows if they were actually sweets. And so actually, maybe we need to lower the tax on this to something like 5% as we do for energy, or 0% for water.
Oh, well, there's an interesting
that
point.
Makes sense.
That
Not for free, but take the VAT off. That makes
Well,
sense.
it sounds like we're all just paying too much and we could
Yes.
get a better deal. I think that's what we'll all be doing this afternoon. A huge thank you to Harry Kind for giving us some advice, and a huge thank you to Carol and Henry for being such a wonderful panel. Jeremy's going to be back at 9:15 tomorrow morning. I'm going to be back same time, same place. But until then, have a very lovely afternoon and happy internet deal searching.